All right, welcome back, everybody, and welcome to Kitchen Table Talk, a Break the Stigma Inc. podcast, where real, unfiltered conversations about first responder mental health and wellness happen. Michael Long, firefighter, paramedic, and founder of Break the Stigma Inc. This show is for a place for all of us as firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, police officers, dispatchers, and other medical professionals to pull up a chair, share your stories, talk about the parts of the job that most of us don't ever see. Here, we're going to laugh, we'll reflect, we'll learn, and we'll remind each other that it's okay to not be okay, because mental health is just as vital as physical health. And together we can break the stigma. So grab a cup, take a seat, and join us for this episode of Kitchen Table Talk. So, as always, we are happy to be back. I don't even know how long we're going in between anymore on these podcasts. They seem to be very sporadic, but we're trying to get them in. So I apologize for all those that have just been dying to wait for this episode to get released. But as always, we have our wonderful co-host, Nick Robben.
How's it going, guys? Good to see you again. Great to see some of you out at the 5K run. Let's make that a little bigger next year. I should not be winning my age group is what I'll say about that. But it was a good run, and it was a great chance to kind of get out and see everybody. For our runners out there, we're gonna dial in the course next year. I will just preface it with this: it is a very fast 5K course. So if you're looking to support a great cause and get a new PR and medal in something, you definitely got a chance on that course. It's very flat. It's well groomed. There's a small uphill. There's a small downhill, but you make it all work for you.
Yeah.
Today we have one of my longtime friends, Mark Hanick. And Mark and I both went through our own mental health journeys together. And at the time, we didn't know we were doing that, which is kind of funny. We met around 2014 through duck hunting, and we spent hours together outdoors on all kinds of projects and in some pretty miserable conditions, talking about everything from work to life to, kids to family and that. And, to no fault of our own, we got busy with life and that kind of thing. And we've been brought back together by the mental health community. So Mark's got some great stuff to share. And he's even got some, what is it? Is a retreat thing?
Yeah.
Mental health retreat.
They call it a treatment program. It is a 5-day course that for veterans, first responders, and shockingly, Department of Corrections.
I can see that.
Corrections get in on that. Those guys have a very, very tough go of it. But yeah, it is a purely holistic approach and a very informative approach to how we, I won't say deal, but all of us, the various ingredients of our PTSD cake that we make in our lives, how we deal with those and how we mitigate those. And it's all geared towards holistics and self-help. And I've heard you guys say in many ones, the self-care is this, well, the mantra and all that, time and time again, self-care has to be selfless. It is not selfish. It is not anything to be like, oh, you're putting yourself first, blah, 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 blah. It's not that at all. Self-care has to come first because we're not good to anybody. Well, you guys aren't. You're still working. I'm, my lucky current employer is, they're actually very supportive of it, and I'm very open. And that's the other thing is embracing openness and vulnerability. And Mike, heard you mention that many times. That I tell guys when I go back and mentor to Warriors Ascent, I did forget to mention that it's Warriors Ascent, that 5-day free 5-day course in Kansas City. You just got to get there, and I'm sure we could pop a link onto there later, or it's real easy. 2 words: warriorsascent.org.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. Warriors Ascent is linked on our website already. So if you go into our resource tab, it takes you directly to Warriors Ascent's website. So,
and I'm going to put my foot in my mouth for the first time and just mention I did remember seeing that now. Nick will be like, okay, one, we'll keep a rolling tone on that one. But yeah, it's when I go back and mentor, the huge honor and pleasure it is of that. That's the first thing, one of the first things I mainly go back with the men's groups. They keep male mentors with male groups. Is that I wear my vulnerability like a cape before, any of us were to say, man, you keep sticking it down, you push it down. I don't need help. Helpers don't need help. I'm fine. The two worst words for any first responder or veteran or DOC guy, I'm fine, which we all know sitting in the back of our mind is complete BS. We'll keep the cussing to a check until I hear you guys break it. So
that's never been a problem.
that's my small amount of decorum there. So
I put a little disclaimer on our videos that say it's not necessarily appropriate for children due to language.
of the many acronyms I live by, achieved at Warriors Ascent is RAG, RAG, and raw, authentic, and genuine. And nobody, and Nick will ever tell you, well, that's why Nick and I get along. Nobody ever has to ask us what we're thinking. And it's, the RAG is a good one also. RAG's an old, worn out, gnarly thing, but it still works. And being raw, authentic, and genuine is just the only way I can be anymore. And my openness and vulnerability, it works for me. Sorry to anybody around me that gets caught in that vortex of chatter that I get on. But
I think looking at that, not to interrupt you, I think just that concept there of wearing it like that with that rag, people can get put off by it, offended by it, but it's amazing how much change I've seen in people because that initial, they don't know what to do with that, the vulnerability coming from someone else. But as soon as it sets in, they may go home and be like, oh man, that was awesome. And the next thing you know, they're starting to rethink their vulnerability. They're starting to rethink how they can kind of approach what they're feeling. It's amazing that a conversation doesn't necessarily turn somebody on the right path, but opening their mind to something, they start making their own path. So I think having people like you that are out there that are being vulnerable, that are being authentic, that are being genuine with what they're saying and how they're feeling, it makes people have that comfort level to say, it might not be tomorrow, it might be in a month, it might be in 6 months, but it's always on the back of their mind now. It's like, oh, maybe I can do this.
Planting the seed. That's what you got to do. And, this another analogy I use is like all the stuff we get in this program. You got yoga, mindfulness, intentionality, eating right, journaling, exercise, diet, movement, all kind of spiritualism. Nobody puts any religion out there. Nick and I both have a very strong Catholic, faith, and I use my Catholic faith of be the light too. Which that vulnerability, I expose the light to what I've become, or I try to be that light. Like I'm not hiding anything. I'm not going to light a candle and put it under a bushel basket. I'm going to be there. Somebody wants to blow it out. Too bad. I'm walking away and relighting it. And it's just going to be there for whoever needs to see it, warm themselves, whatever it is. So, it's served me very well. And it's been painful getting to that point, but it's like all good things. And, we learn from our mistakes, and man, I ought to be friggin' Einstein by now. So
I think all of us can agree to that one, that if we learn from our mistakes, we shouldn't make mistakes anymore. But I think that's part of it. And I love it because the journey, I think people don't realize, and I say this constantly on the podcast and on our lectures and our seminars we do, is like, and I'll break the ice here. I always tell people, you didn't get fucked up overnight, so you're not going to fix it in a day. So it is a journey. It is 100% a learning process and a journey. But the way you can feel after the journey and that light that you have when the work's been done is tenfold the bad part of what you're feeling now. It's crazy how much better you can feel versus how bad you felt from the beginning. But it takes that journey. And people want those quick fixes, those easy way outs. And guess what? It wasn't an easy way in either. As much as we think it was just a quick, oh, I got depressed or I got PTSD in, a night. It's like, no. It wasn't a quick process either. So you can't bank on it being that quick fix. But no, I love
it's like, yeah, you refer to, I call it tie it, like Nick, the old decoy line or any rescue stuff. If you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. And that's what I feel in probably other people's minds too. Our careers, tying knots, and we're putting that rope behind us. We're putting that, so we're getting new, fresh rope in our careers, and we just keep tying knots. And now we got to go back and untie them, and they don't go together nearly as good as come apart as good as they nearly went together.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the analogies that people come up with because I've learned so much just from someone else's perspective on their analogy of how it all works. Because, I mean, me and Nick always go back and forth on the bucket analogy. Are you filling it with water? Are you filling it with marbles? Are you filling it with sand? But then you get to the people, it's like that, the rope. I've never heard the rope analogy because I'm a very visual person. So I'm picturing it in my head of me literally tying knots. And then when you untie that knot, the rope's not straight. But you can get it straight again. It just takes time and work.
And it's stronger.
Yeah.
A knot always weakens a rope.
Yeah. I love it. I'm sorry. I just had to throw it in there. I just love the new analogies.
Yeah, bro, I got you a new analogy guy there, Mike.
Yeah. No, Robben, we're gonna have to discuss the book deal now. Are we gonna bring Mark in on your book deal where I just write down the Robbenisms and we'll call it the Markinisms?
I mean, me and him spent enough time together in deep thought that I'm sure some of mine are his and that kind of thing. But going back to the previous topic, I think a lot of, when we first started the podcast or whenever you give someone else advice, especially, from my perspective, I never had like one thing that was terrible. I don't have Mike's story, that kind of thing. So it's, like, where do I get off giving somebody advice? And I think it's that helper in us, but it's that helper of, hey man, I've been where you're at, or I know what you're going through. I know what that feels like. And even if it's not one traumatic event, for me, I'd say my like Pokemon attribute card would be, I know what it feels like to be overstimulated. I know what it feels like to have everything going on at the same time, but you still have to get it done because you feel like everybody's counting on you. And you can make things a lot worse by not asking, for help, which is, kind of the biggest, I guess, season that I'm in is figuring out where I can ask for help as my schedule, continues to fill. But, I never had a problem asking Mark for help. So there was plenty of years that
strong back, weak mind, baby.
Yeah. He also does so.
Also had that on the back of my fire helmet. Every new issue I got that from a buddy of mine, Joel. Always had strong back, weak mind. Just point me in a direction, tell me when to stop. Yeah, Nick, and you talked about it in that one specific event, man. It's like your jar, or one of the first therapy sessions I was in. They were like, you just filled your cup up, because didn't mention anything about it. I got right at 30 years as a paramedic and firefighter, and retired out of St. Charles City Fire as a firefighter and medic, and was the smart guy, Nick, and I stayed in the back seat and just had fun. Mm-hmm. Much like all my buddies I went to the academy and medic school with they're all into getting to the end of their careers. Like, man, that's so smart, just staying in the back seat. But mine was my event, my trigger, or the big thing was a drowning call on the 4th of July, 2013. And just this long myriad of coincidences. We weren't supposed to be on the call. We weren't supposed to be there. We had just things stacked up against us. But as 3 of us were in the water, we all decided we had to go. And we were just holding our breath, going down, looking for this young man in 17 foot of water, and I ended up blowing out the inside of my right ear. Eardrum was fine, but everything else, like my ENT said, when he looked at it, he goes, "Oh, it's like a lava lamp." So, yeah, so that was a couple months off, and that was my crisis event, and that was the really my stumbling block. Honestly, that's the thing that was what my big trip, and I just kept rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling because we don't know. Nick, like you said, there's I can't point to anything. I can't do this. And sooner or later, you're like, oh crap, I can say it now. Oh shit, I'm more withdrawn. I'm drinking more. I'm away from my family. Here's the top of the charts. I'm always angry. I'm short tempered. I'm irritable. When we're going through the academy, nobody goes, "Oh, hey, here's or you get to your first job assignment. Here's your locker. Here's your gear. Here's where you're going to be riding. Oh, by the way, here's a list of stuff. All this stuff, if this happens, tell somebody." Nobody tells us that. You don't get a list of all those red flags, those triggers, and even worse is the ones that live with us, the canaries in the coal mine, our families. They're the first ones to know what's going on, and they're the last ones we're going to listen to, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And they bear the brunt of it. Ooh, man, they bear the brunt of it. My poor wife's coming up on a decade and a half now. So
I think I remember too. I think I remember when we first talked about the call. Mm-hmm. I think you had contacted me pretty soon after the call. I think to tell me you ruptured your eardrum, and so we were talking about that, and I remember basically through the workman's comp channels, I think they set you all up to get your ear fixed, and then they're like, "Oh, you have to go to therapy too." And I will never forget, you were like, "Oh, I don't need that. I just hurt my ear."
Yep.
And they were like, "No, you're going to go." And I think that's what, for lack of a better term, kind of opened it up to you of like, oh, you're right. There might be a problem here. I always thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I didn't get fully diagnosed until about a year afterward, going through the whole, as the spectacular pace that workman's comp works at, and it was Tim had got hurt in his fire. Kirchhoff got hurt in his fire,
right?
About 6 months, 6 months or so after mine. So Tim and I became sounding boards, and we both had been diagnosed and stuff like that. And I kind of had a comparison, like Kirchhoff, looking at Tim. I'm like, I'm not that bad. This guy's crazy. I'm okay, So,
yeah.
And it was just taking it. Nope, I'm fine. I'm supposed to be mad. I'm supposed to be withdrawn. I'm supposed to be irritable. I'm supposed to, throw shit around the house and break stuff and then have to spend twice the time to fix it. And, the list, I was never checking boxes or taking care of stuff. So it was, Tim and I had a good back and forth on things, but it was, it's not the system's fault. It's purely my fault, that I never took any ownership of it. And, but I didn't know, but that's not an excuse either. Yeah. So, and that's what I think we need to do a much better job of advocacy and, getting out in front of this, being preventive instead of proactive. We're excellent at being proactive. We're 1,000% proactive. So,
yeah, I think what you found in your relationship with Tim there, having that sounding board, that's the part that we all need to learn now, and especially for younger guys or people who are starting to notice your list of symptoms is, who can we use as a sounding board? And right. Because I've always been, open and honest and talked about most of my problems with other guys, with Mike and a couple other guys, from work, I've always, opened up to being someone else's sounding board. and kind of bouncing stuff back. And, you know, it's never too late to start, is kind of, you know, if you're looking at yourself and you're looking inward now, which is what Mike and I, you know, really ask of the listeners of this podcast is, you know, look inward. And then the next move is, okay, who can help me out here? Who's been through something similar?
Well, it's another analogy, you know, this podcast, this organization, Mike, you're doing phenomenal work here because I use it as, you know, whoever it is, you know, someone's got PTS and they're a first responder or they're, you know, a cop, a firefighter, just straight street medic or DOC guy or whoever, you know, doctors and nurses, man, they all get it as well. And, you know, when we get sent to the system, you know, EAP, that's a 4-letter word. For us, for the city, you know, the city government or city department,
it's all of them. That's all right.
Yeah. It's so you go to EAP. Hey, I'm having anger issues. I'm having this and that and the other. And in my extrapolation of fun stuff, I relate to. I go, okay, I feel like I'm telling EAP I'm having an electrical problem. They're like, perfect. Go over that guy. He's a great car mechanic. You're like, what? No, what? Not. That's not it. Or you walk in and say, I got a plumbing problem. Sweet, cool. Go talk to that guy. He's an excellent HVAC guy. You know, Mike, you walk in. Hey, I've got some termites in my house. Cool. I'm going to get you in touch with this roofer. No, it's not. And this is one of the hardest struggles is relatability. And the worst things for anybody to try and come out and say, I need help is a safe place to do that. And with the podcast, the organization that runs, who knows, man, all these exposure where you got people out there, you've got other people walking the walk, talking the talk sort of thing. And it could be that little spark, that little seed planting. They'd be like, you know what? And I don't think a whole lot of us are terribly bashful in their careers or our personalities. You know, we weren't exactly wallflowers that decided to do this career. And I think that can be this advocacy and this, you know, wonderful asset. And there's more and more and more coming along. And unfortunately, we're putting more people through these programs, but those people also have to understand that they are going to be someone's saving grace. I hate to put that badge on us or anything like that. You know, like what's that one saying says, you know, don't be afraid to tell your story because one day it could be it could save somebody's life, or it could be the recipe to save somebody's life or get them out of where they're at. You know,
yeah,
that wasn't the exact saying, obviously, but
I've literally been taking notes. I have so many things to circle on. That's
the first time anybody's ever said that to me. Mark, I made notes of what you said. Usually like,
well, no, it's because we all want to talk. I don't want to forget what I was thinking. No, I'm going to circle backwards from where I have my notes, because what you just said, I think resonates a lot, is what I consider the poster child. When you said, when you tell your story, and that it's like becoming someone's, for lack of better terms, poster child, or the reason that they get help. It's like, when Nick experienced my crisis firsthand, he experienced kind of all of the ups and downs, even leading into it, and then even post ups and downs. And it's like, after I was done, we're never done. It's a lifelong journey. But after I was,
I'm better now.
After I was better, it's amazing that I never anticipated my story to be the reason someone did more for themselves. But when I got back and I started having conversations, it was like, I was telling my story and people were asking me questions, and it wasn't that I wasn't the one fixing their problems, but I was the one that was giving them the comfortability of knowing, as my shirt says, that they're not alone, that this isn't a unique experience, that it's, that I always say I'm not the first, I'll never, and I won't be the last. My goal is to help those not reach the point I did. But there is the people out there like Mark, like you're doing, what me and Nick are doing, and then there's hundreds of others out there that are willing to be the ones that I want to stand in the spotlight and say, hey, there are people here to help. It may not be me. Believe me, I'm not everybody's cup of tea when it comes to the way I handle situations or how I, have my conversations. But
yeah,
I'm willing to be the one to open the conversation and then lead you down the right path. But I think there are individuals out there too that, I've had this conversation with a few other individuals that have gone through stuff that are like, oh, I want to tell my story and that. And then we get to talking and it's like, I don't want to sound rude, but you're not there yet. Like you got to have a certain sense of self before you can share yourself with someone else. Because it does take its toll. I mean, repeating the things you go through over and over again to a room full of people, it brings a lot back up. And if you haven't fully worked out all of those things that are on your mind, all of those things that put you in the place you were in, man, you can rehash some things and not even realize you're doing it. And I think I say that with a word of caution to people of, when you see that light, keep working on it until you hit that comfortability to say, oh yeah, hey, I can be your rock. I can be, because it comes back again to that selfish versus selfless, is you can't be selfless if you're not selfish. So take the time to be selfish, get yourself straight, get yourself in that place, and then go be selfless. I mean, it's just like when I was in AA, the sponsors weren't the guys that have been in 6 months. They were the ones that were in, 10 years. They walked the walk, they got through it. They're the ones that, if I come to them with a beer in my hand because I fell off the wagon, they're not going to be trying to fight me for it. But it speaks volumes, though, to have people like yourself that are willing to go through this and be able to just say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to tell my story. I'm willing to sit and have a 2-hour conversation with somebody. I'm willing to sit down and have a cup of coffee and say, walk through what's going on, and then guide you in the right direction of like in yours. And Tim's the same way. Like I've tried and push Warriors Ascent. It's because it's another option that's out there. But for me, it's harder to say like, hey, Warriors Ascent is great because I've never been there. But those are the type I know, like Tim, and now I know like yourself, that it's, if I have somebody asking questions, it's like, oh, I have the perfect person. They'll tell you all about it, and they'll be vulnerable in the conversation.
And you'll probably wish you didn't call that guy.
Well, it's funny though.
Try not a good half hour of your day. Just go ahead and tell them that.
But on that note, like my phone rings all the time with people that call for resources and information, but it turns into a 2-hour conversation about everything they're going through. And we get into these deep conversations about what I went through, what I experienced, and things like that. And these aren't pats on my back or anything like that, but I've had people at the end of phone calls being like, man, I feel better just from having this conversation with someone that understands, and they're in therapy, their therapists are doing the right things in that, but they're like, I haven't actually connected on this level about my struggles with a professional. So I think having that like-minded individual that has the experience, that has the know-how of what it's like to have that conversation, sometimes is what people really need to just jumpstart their journey.
Well, it's like I said, it's that relatability. Like Nick said earlier, I know what you've been, wouldn't necessarily, I've been in places similar to what you are. I've been through things like that. I understand how you feel. I don't know how you feel. That's your feelings, but I have been up against the ropes. I have been at the, just seeing blankets of red. It was like my anger was always just a red curtain, just like a bull. And you didn't do anything until you exercise those demons, and not like you guys exercise. The Father of Christ compels you exercise stuff, but it's just being able to say, dude, I know what you're talking about, and you can talk. It's that comfort level of being able to open up to a person like that, and that's what Yeah. And Mike, you were saying that, you're not there yet. There's a big gap. There's a huge gap getting someone from being a victim and all these guys fucked me over, this, that, and the other. These people are bullshit. As opposed to, I am the master. I choose what I become. Like Carl Jung, I am not what happened to me. I choose what I choose to become. What I want. Carl Jung, not Jung. Carl Jung. Make all the Germans in St. Charles County out here. It's Jungerman. There's a huge shores between being able to let go of everybody screwing you over, the system screwing you over, and there's no magic bullet to doing it. It's just finally realizing I can't do anything about this. I can't change. I made a fun little meme. I might have showed you this one, Nick. It's a picture of my car, and it's got the rear view mirror and the windshield, and I put a little phrase over the front of it. Victim on the rear view mirror, or hero / warrior, champion. Whatever word you want to associate with yourself. Like I'm the master. Like Kramer would say, I'm the master of my domain. You can keep being the victim and looking back, but all you're going to do is run into shit if you can't see forward. And that windshield affords us all so much more opportunity versus looking back. Yeah, you got to look back occasionally because stuff may be creeping up on you and you have to keep it in check. But looking forward and that ownership and accountability, personal accountability or agency is my favorite buzzword. Agency for yourself is just, it's some people like, oh yeah, boop, boop, boop. And other people, they won't let it go after years. They just cannot say or cannot accept that whoever did whatever to them and whatever process or whatever event sucked, and you can't do anything about it. They just want to love their little Gollum ring. I'm hanging on to this one. So
yeah, is your
never let forward?
Yeah, is your rear view mirror trademarked? I like your analogies. I'm writing these down for
that was analogy too for the podcast. So for those,
that's all.
Yeah, I would say if you're in your car right now, if you notice the windshield is extremely large and the rear view mirror is extremely small, and the virtue in that is our problems are in the past, they're behind us, and like Mark said, you will need to check them. You have 3 of them, so you can make sure you have all your angles covered. But for the most part, what you need to focus on is what's out in front of that windshield. That's what you're trying to change.
That's every choice you have.
Yeah.
That's everything ahead of you that you can choose.
I have another lecture coming up, and I'm literally already in my head designing this slide for this lecture for the rearview mirror. I mean, it makes in my head I'm going so many different angles with it because it's like, yeah, like Robben, like you said, the rearview mirror, it's small, it's limited, it's backwards, it's not what's really in front of you. It's not.
Yeah.
You gotta.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there,
but never gonna go away.
And it's always gonna be there. And you can rip it down all you want, but everything behind you is still there. But the focus.
Then you're in more trouble when you don't pay attention to what's
But what's important is what's in front of you, and it's unless you're going backwards. But we all want to go forward.
But
not all of us are Jim Rockford.
Think about it though. If you park yourself in a tight spot, or you're stuck, your windshield. Let's analogize this deeper, if that's a word. So if you're stuck in a tight spot, you're going to have to use your rearview mirror, the things in your past, to figure out how to get out of it. So then the windshield's not as important. So if you're, the driver of the car, you have to figure out your way out. You're still going to use the windshield, but you're going to have to use all your mirrors at the same time, and that's learning from your mistakes in the past. And yeah, I mean, I think you could probably develop an entire lecture on this topic alone. Mike, it reminds me a lot of that frozen, frigid night we got together in Jefferson County, and we had I'll be honest, we had a half-ass PowerPoint with a few slides, and we taught probably one of the greatest mental health classes to 20 kids that we've ever put on. And it was simple things that we taught that night. But it's definitely, I think, analogies like these that stick with people, and these are kind of the breakthrough moments. And the whole reason Mike and I started the podcast was we would have these conversations on the phone. And being honest, Mark and I had these same conversations on the phone or in the duck blind or wherever we were. And now we want to share it with whoever's listening.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you, I get more people call and just say, I could listen to you guys talk all day. And it's
that's a true sign of mental illness.
Yeah.
All right. I want these people's number because there's not anybody. I know. I always told my wife, I said, if I ever died in the line of duty, God forbid, you would never be able to say, now we're going to have a moment of truth, a moment of silence, because some smart ass, well, any myriad of them really, be like, oh, why? We never got one when he was alive. So
yeah, well, I think that people like it too because they can pause us anytime they want. They have the ability to get away.
Right.
No, I love that, and I think I'm going to circle back to some of my other notes here because one of the ones was almost from the very beginning. Was you said you held up? I'm assuming was your seed pack there, and said list of samples. Basil, yeah. So, but you said we're not handed a list of samples or a list of things to look for as we go through our careers of warning signs and red flags. But it made me start thinking because then you talked about the anger and things like that. And those are the same things I experienced was the anger, and my family took the brunt of it. And that, but it's like, but when I look back, as I had all of those things, they were almost normalized as the sample list of what we should be experiencing in our careers. Like, you get 10 years in your career and people, you tell somebody like, oh, I was, my 4-day, I was pissed off. I broke this. I drank till I passed out. And people are like, oh, that sounds like my 4-day. Good job. And it's like, that's
the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. That's the list. We actually are getting a list, but it's an inappropriate list. Like, we're actually naming all the bad things and saying, oh yeah, this is normal. Well, yeah, it's normal because we have yet to do anything to prevent what the bad normal is. And
to quote my favorite one of my favorite movies, Young Frankenstein. Yeah, normal. Be normal.
But yeah, so
everybody's gonna go watch that one for the reference. Sorry.
But I think we've done some of the work, but I think some of the work was done ass backwards. And now it's kind of that time for all of us to step up. And I always tell people like we're not going to save everybody. Our generation of firemen and EMS and police and the whole 9 yards. It's going to be real hard to get through to those. But one thing we can definitely focus on and make changes for the better is in those younger generations coming in is like, let's hand them the sample list that gives them all the warning signs,
right? Of
actually, these are not normal. These are normal for what you're experiencing because you're not dealing with your shit. So when you see these, it's not to say, okay, it's okay to get so angry. It's okay to drink until you can't function. No, these are signs to say it is normal. Now you need to go get help.
That flow chart. Yes. Everybody knows the ACLS or whatever flow chart. There's always a sidestep if there's a yes or, there's a cause and effect. Are you pissed all the time? Yep. You don't keep going down. You got to move sideways. Okay, it might be planting or weeding on the old basil packet, but that's what I.
Well, that's one of my favorite parts of the new flow chart. Is at some point it says, "Stop what you're doing. You're not ready to handle this. You need to seek expert consultation."
Yep.
And that should be in your flow chart as well. And
any of those one things.
And your expert
anger,
doesn't
irritate, seek expert consultation.
Yeah. And your expert consultation doesn't always have to be the doctor. It can be someone that understands, that's been through it.
Seek external consultation.
There you go.
Quit talking to yourself. Quit telling yourself it's all right, because there's the old condition called normalization of deviation. And it's basically accepting things going wrong that still work out at a positive in the end. Okay, the space shuttle was famous for that. And the first space shuttle disaster was normal. They were like, oh, the O-rings have always been cold. Well, we've had leak bypasses on them and stuff like that. Well, it finally took, one guy, and why this sticks in my head, Roger Beaujolais from Morton Thiokol. Why I remember that guy's name. But he was like, no, this is not going to be it. He was overruled, right? And boom, Nick, normalization of deviation, got rid of my gray truck and got me my white truck. I always backed into the river. I didn't ever have to use four-wheel drive.
Oh, that's right.
Normalization of deviation is why I backed my truck into the Missouri River going goose hunting. Well, I didn't go goose killing that day. I went to the junkyard. Yeah, it's accepting things, accepting like problems or failures or little small issues here along the way that doesn't affect the end result until it actually does affect it and it's catastrophic.
Well, it's accepting. So if we gave everyone the list and you could hang it up in your locker at your workplace or at the nurse's station, and you said, okay, if you see these things, these are red flags. I can almost guarantee you everyone that listens to this type of podcast or is looking for help, they're going to rationalize things on that list and be like, well, X, Y, and Z happens because of this. And you're going to accept probably 5 things on that list. Like, well, I'm angry all the time because I'm busy, or I drink.
Well, nobody listens to what I'm talking to.
Yeah. Or, I drink because my brain won't shut up and I'm trying to sleep. And
I can't sleep, so my brain won't shut up.
Yeah. So you just, chase that tail around for a while.
Yeah.
And that one will come get you. But it's, when we look at the red flags, do not rationalize those red flags. Try and identify the root cause of why you're working, through that flow chart or through that list. And like we've always said, it's maybe it's not one thing, but one day it will be the one thing that breaks you.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like anything. Anything is incremental. You can't build a house with 1 2x4. You cannot make a gravel road with 1 rock. It all has to be a cumulative. It all has to be put in place and laid down, and you just have to keep going. Those things are nice. Houses and gravel roads are nice. Career-ending behaviors kind of suck. And, and that is the understanding, and is that it needs to be that understanding with like you said, the younger generation. We're not going to say kids, but this younger generation, this younger career field coming in. Look, dude, these red flags. These are the things that you need to watch out for, and here's what you can do about it, as opposed to just saying, watch out for this. Okay, crap. I know those little yellow signs on a curve. I know to turn the car this way. You got to know what to do. Somebody has to tell you what to do or where to go when you see those signs, those indicators. And that just takes people being willing to step up and say, yeah, here's what we do.
Yeah. No, I like that. I didn't. By the way, I'm also keeping a tally now of analogies. We're up to 5. But no, I
feel like I'm a little short. I'm going to have to load her up here towards the end.
No, your curved sign, your curved road sign was it hit home there, because it was exactly what we were talking about. It's like, oh, we give you all of these warning signs, but if the sign's blank as you're coming up to the curve, well, there's something going to go wrong. But what the hell do I do? So you put the little
when the arrow's going like this, you don't go, oh, let's see, it's pointing to the right. You know.
Yeah. I like.
I got another new truck. Woo!
I'm telling you, I'm just going to send you my next PowerPoint for my next presentation and just have you write analogies on each page, and I'll go from there. I'm going to get into
Here's,
you and Robben. It'll be 700 pages long, but it'll be good.
Nick, does anybody at the firehouse keep a list of Robbinisms?
I'm sure that I'm almost positive they do. Mike does.
I know one guy at St. Charles still has mine going. So,
well, I think it was the last podcast. I told Robben I'm getting him a book deal, and it's just going to be a book full of Robbinisms and there's not going to be any context outside of what he says. Like just you build your own, because sometimes the analogies and the things that are said, it's not the context around it. You produce your own context of what was said, and use it how you want, because it just fits.
It's like
perfectly.
the old pick a mix candy when you were a kid. I want some of this. I want the banana. I want the cherry. What are those? What are you doing with them? Whatever I want.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll lead you in a direction that is positive. No, that's why I think we need to get Nick a book deal. So if any producers and that on here listening have any book connections.
Well, if anybody's looking to make a pamphlet deal, I can get a pamphlet full of great information. Maybe a matchbook cover. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the analogies work well for the levels of ADHD that we deal with. For the same reason that we're talking about it is, it's short, concise. You can take it on your own. So I think it would almost turn into almost a Mad Libs book, but it would still be entertaining nonetheless. Like I'll get you down the path, and then you just make your own conclusions. So
I want to circle back again. So one of the things we were talking about was that sounding board analogy. I didn't even make a tally for that one, so I'm going to add number 6 on there. But that sounding board, I was thinking about it as you guys were talking about it, and it's funny because I get yelled at recently a lot with everything going on about how I don't practice what I preach when shit hits the fan, because I'm really good at telling everybody else the greatest advice in the world on how to take care of yourself. And then I do the complete opposite when I actually get in the hole again. And weirdly enough, it's great because I have a whole team of clinicians that work with us, and they call me out on a regular basis. One of them even asked if they needed to call me the other day. I don't even know what I said. But anyway, so the sounding board, utilizing you guys at work, I was thinking about it as you guys were talking about it, and I literally just did this. And it literally took every ounce of energy I had left this rotation. Because I'll admit, I've been isolating again. I've been avoiding conversation. People are literally looking at me like, okay, what's going on here? Because we see it in your face. And with everything going on last night, I was having those conversations, and I won't go too deep into this because my wife listens, so I don't need to deal with that. She gets mad at me enough when I bring it up. But we were talking about what was going on and the things, and I was like, there was a couple of us sitting around the kitchen table, obviously kitchen table talk.
Sure.
But we were sitting there talking, and somebody's like, what's going on? And I was like, all right, here's where I'm at. I don't know what to do here. I don't need anybody to answer the question, but I need some advice because I honestly don't know how to handle this situation. And my honest opinion is I don't want to handle this situation. I want to act like it never happened and it never existed.
Oh yeah.
But it was nice. Nobody in the room gave me here's plan A, B, and C. Here's how you're going to perfect it. Here's how you're going to do it.
Right.
It was just it was able for me to offload it, to get some friendly advice and some guidance from what other people were seeing from the outside. And it made a world of difference. It really did. Just that simple conversation of having somebody to bounce things off of.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like,
Mike,
go ahead, Nick.
Mike, you didn't give our other example too. A couple guys from work have all stumbled into the same self-help book, and the book tells you, I won't mention the book yet till we're done with it, and but it tells you when you read this book, you're supposed to read it with other men, so that, because it's a very heavy book, so you're supposed to have a group to talk about this self-help book with. And it's funny, the guy that I had texted another guy about it, and it turns out he was actually a few chapters ahead reading it on his own. He hadn't developed a group yet. And he he just put 4 guys in the group and he said, you all have homework. Here it is. You know, me and Nick have already started reading this book. And, you know, it's the 4 closest guys, you know, that I have in my life, and they are my sounding boards as well. But, you know, it was a very simple thing. And I think that's one thing we can do with our sounding boards, or sounding board, if it's just, you know, one person, if you like to keep it simple. But I've done a ton of self-help books and podcasts and stuff, and they are overwhelming because at some point they point out all your flaws and you're like, I am a giant piece of shit. That's what this book should be called.
Yeah.
And
these people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And sometimes that makes things worse. But if you have a little group or a sounding board to go back and forth with when it comes to self-help type stuff, you know, especially a sounding board is somebody you already trust, because you're already in that circle. So if you kind of bounce off of them, hey, here's this thing that I'm doing. What do you think of this? Or what did you think when it said that? And, you know, I think that's going to be another important piece of the puzzle when it comes to sounding boards, is how are you getting better together? You know, so not just listening to each other, but how are you picking each other up? Because we don't have all the answers, but just like our analogies, sometimes explaining a topic to each other is probably the most productive sounding board.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily the conversation of getting all the answers from the group, but just reflecting on it and putting it out there to where you might still come up with your own answer, but it's because of the input of someone else, of how they interpreted it or how they kind of took the conversation. And by the book club here, I will tell you, you guys are all cheating by doing the audiobook. I'm like 4 chapters behind because I'm actually reading it. So don't give me any insights of what you've already learned.
I had to quit trying to read books when I was trying to read one, and I was like, okay, you're a year into this thing. And then I switched to audiobook. I'm like, well, that was a quick week and a very full book. So it just absorbs it. But I like Nick. I'm impressed that Nick just actually managed to spell team with I in it, and effectively. And it is, Nick. I mean, it is. It's taking the I's, you know, all the or whatever number of I's in that group, and making a team out of it that works. So that could be your next pamphlet or book, the I in team.
Yeah, ooh, the INT.
The INT. I'm gonna write that one down. No, I think it's you're right. It nailed it, because you found, like, for you and the other guy that were already kind of on it, it's like you guys were already doing the same thing, just parallel to each other, and then you brought each other to you guys came together to do it together, and then I got told about it, and I'm like, I'm in, and then it just so happened 2 other people were standing there. One of them ordered the wrong book, but. Beside the point, it's firemen. But it's just all of these people were on board with this team activity that they were probably going to do on their own, because they never asked about anyone else doing it. And, you know, we've got a bunch of eyes running around, and then all of a sudden we realize, oh shit, we can do this together. You're already doing it. And we build a team now. So
Nick's new nickname is Oprah.
No, I got it was actually it was my captain that suggested it to our crew. And you know, I had this extended time off work here with vacation days and stuff, and I needed a new book, and you know, he spoke highly of it, and he makes all of his sons read it, and it makes a lot of sense. But if you're not ready for what this book is about to tell you, the first 3 chapters are tough to listen to. I mean, we'll probably end up having to do an episode on it. We'll have to call that guy and see if he
join us.
Yeah, join us or allow it. But yeah, it's for me, just kind of hearing it put that way, and it's calling out some of my own behaviors. Very, very frankly, I think it's important to have other people that you can go, hey, do you do that?
Right.
Do you do that thing? Does that ruin your life? So yeah,
someone to hold you
interesting.
personally accountable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Side note, I wrote that down for a future episode idea of an episode of all of us reading that book, just getting on here and doing an hour about tearing the book apart and what we learned. I will 100% reach out to the author too and tell him what we're doing. We probably won't get a response, but who knows? He might be like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Then we can get another professional in here to tell us how fucked up we are.
Hey, it's a third party accountability you always talk about, Mike.
Yeah. And you talking about, the self-care thing, guys, it that struck a chord there because, you're practicing self-care with that, and that's the beauty of it is that you can do it anywhere, anyhow. And how many ever guys you have reading this book, everybody's taking something, they're reading the same words, but they're processing it in a different way and taking somewhere of that and plugging it into their life accordingly. And that's kind of, it struck that holistic trigger in my head of the go anywhere, take self-care anywhere, anyhow, anytime with you. You can do it anywhere, any place, which is the beauty of it,
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking a little bit before we started about the self-care and doing it everywhere. And I think, and I preach this all the time about, when it comes to taking care of yourself and your mental health and just in general taking care of your wellness, it's like there's no extravagant plan that requires you to go places and do things and see people. It's just learning what helps you in doing it. And like you said, like we were talking about beforehand, it's like you brought up breathing. Like we talk about breathing techniques even in our presentations because it's something you can do sitting in your chair at home, sitting in the back of the truck, driving at the dinner table, driving,
whatever.
And it's not even necessarily like I do them. Like I've been kind of failing at my cold plunges, but like I practice my breathing techniques when I'm in my cold plunge because it's a high stress environment. And then when I'm out, it becomes second nature that when I get stressed, my body automatically says, "Oh, start breathing." And it's that repetition, but it's something people can practice and do anytime without actually affecting their timelines. And I'm still a big preacher of like, look at our, we have 24 hours in a day and how much of it do you waste doing unproductive things? Well, can you take 5 minutes to find one of these holistic techniques that's self-care and just do it? Put the phone down for 5 minutes and do it.
Here's the thing. You can do it at supper time. You can, you got the communal table, right? And one of the best practices I've ever done, and you could, if you just stop, you sit around any firehouse kitchen table, you're going to look like you're going to look around and you're like, damn, these are adults. These are upright human beings with opposable thumbs and they're, shoveling it in, and my practice now is mindful eating. You take a bite, you put it down, you put your food or your utensil down. Take a drink. You're not going, okay, 1, 2, 3. You're not counting your chews, but you're intentionally slowing that down. You're taking a breath in between. And I'm going to stop real short of guarantee, but I will have high assurances. People start practicing mindful eating, which leads into other things as well. Now I mindfully eat my honey buns and all that still, Robben, so don't give me any crap. But, hey, by the way, we need to win. Sign me up for I need to win my weight class in the run next year. So
it's funny because somebody did ask me at this last 5K, instead of age groups, can we do weight classes?
Hey, you might have a new thing there, Mike.
I like it. I told them next year we would definitely highly consider it.
You can register by age or weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, the winner gets their copay at the cath lab paid for, right?
Well, it's funny because at the 5K, one of our main delicacies that we have out is a box of donuts. So I think of all the people that are there for the purpose, not the actual fitness side of it.
There's a bike race. I don't know if it still goes on over in Illinois. It's called Tour de Donut. And It's a long distance, not long distance, maybe 50-mile bike ride. And you can reduce, it's a race technically, and you can take time off of your total time with how many ever donuts you eat along your route. And keep down. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's called Tour de Donut. What's wrong, people?
I'd go get a bike just to justify it.
Oh yeah, I'd have a total like Homer Simpson like donut feeding machine and me like pulling my head back and nose out, while I'm rolling down the road. I'd have my SAG team would be Krispy Kreme.
What you don't know about that, Mike, is that he would actually build that machine.
Yeah. Thanks to whoever gave me that my own hashtag. So
yeah, Mark used to build anything you want out of things he found in the trash
or had,
and he usually had it as well. I used to always say,
"Hey, you were comfortable in my tiny houses and campers, pal. Just leave me."
That's right. I used to always say Mark Hanick would give you the shirt off his back because he has 3 more. And a jacket under his seat if you needed
it. Yep. And a box of shotgun bullets to spare. So,
yep.
Yeah, I want to kind of tag on to that, that mindfulness sort of thing. Think about that when you guys do it. It's a little example when I go up and mentor at Warriors Ascent, and I try to make that example. I'm like, you guys just put your food down and eat. And it's, the funny thing is watching the veterans do it. And there's some through the years, I've seen and met and become good friends with some really, really serious, hard charging, door kicking lads that, they're like, hey, it just took me 5 minutes to eat a cheeseburger or whatever. Or they'll call me up and then they'll send me a text. I got this. It took me a whole 3 bites to eat this donut. I'm like, okay, whatever. Messing with me. And that's that good camaraderie as well, with that stuff. And man, I'll tell you what, anybody starts having problems in their career, you want to talk about a whole nother level of brotherhood. That's cool. We're all there when we're making a paycheck and we're doing a job we all love. But you want to talk about somebody having your back that's walk the walk, talk the talk, and has those mental scars, sometimes physical as well. You want to talk about a brotherhood there or sisterhood. Sorry. So, yeah, so that was my left dangling thing there was, the holistic practices. And I love I've been overly impressed with all the stuff you guys do. And I'm like, we need to get some people just do your thing right then and there. And man, I listen to stuff in the car. I listen to stuff, at bed, for winding down, and just doing practices, get up. Heck, I can still do a pretty physical job at 50 or 30 years old by getting up and doing my yoga in the morning. I'm not doing the old P90X yoga by any means, where I'm trying to doing the old Kuhan Luke, taking this right toe and sticking in this left ear kind of stuff. I'm not plastic man, but it's just, these movements and this taking care of yourself. And it just starts releasing all that stuff that we accumulate over our days and our careers. So luckily, I'm fortunate enough not to have to put any of that stuff back into my gray mush. But it can. I mean, that's what I want to try when I'm going in for as I seek my yoga instructor certification here. I know there's programs out there that come to fire stations and do yoga with folks and stuff like that. I want to kind of I want to do it either with them or through something else from a relatability point. Like, look, this helps you sleep better at night. This will help you, or these things can help you with scrubbing the stress away and stuff like that, and, some of the wellness kind of practices.
Yeah. Well, when you're done and ready to go, let me know and sign me up.
Yeah, I want to do, and I'm nowhere in the shape of Jack LaLanne Robben there, but I want to see what some of the breathing techniques that we learn and stuff like that. Air consumption, everybody does air consumption drills. I'd like to see how some of these things, and not me anymore. I wheeze like old COVID's got me wheezing like an old steam train with a half blocked up exhaust tube. So, but just we've got the skip breathing and this and that and the other things that we do, but to teach people how to be mindful and that, try to calm the whole system down and see how that might affect it. That's got my new calling, my new purpose feel. As I heard somebody saying, they're finding their purpose. That finally hit with me after listening to it, after all the podcasts with you guys. I'm like, this is it. It kind of triggered it again. So yeah, good trigger this time.
Yeah. No, I like the mindfulness with the breathing and like what we taught. I think I've talked about this before. Is they teach us skip breathing, they teach us air consumption drills, they teach us, and you really get into the science of why they teach you that. It's not really to conserve the amount of air you're breathing in and out. It's to lower your stress levels so you don't consume more air. So why don't we use those techniques when we're stressed? Just because you're not trying to keep from wasting a 45-minute bottle doesn't mean you're not wasting air when you're stressed out. So take those same techniques. It carries over into every aspect of your stress in your life. They're not teaching you how to make a 45-minute bottle last longer. They're teaching you how to not stress your body so much so you can consume less air. Because when we're stressed, we breathe more. There's no. It's like I was trying to tell people. There's no. We're not creating this wonderful new wheel. We're just pointing out the obvious spokes that were never found. There's nothing new and groundbreaking. I think we're all coming up with these techniques. It's like we're diving more into the reasons behind it that nobody really ever put out there.
Right. Yeah. Or taking that stone wheel, making it wood, and then making it metal, and then just improving it and tweaking it, and hopefully make it more efficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I love where we're going. As always, we are like 7 minutes over. We're always
that's pretty good for this group.
Yeah, we're always a little over, and I always say I hate to cut it short. We'll have to do this again. But yeah, we will have to cut this one to the point of we're already over time. But I do like to end it. We've been doing this the last few episodes of just everyone giving their one word of advice. It doesn't have to be anything, philosophical or groundbreaking, just something that if our listeners made it this far into it, that there's something they can take home with them today. So I'm going to pass the torch and make Robben go first today.
Yay.
I'm going first today.
Yeah.
Sounding board. Get a sounding board. Get somebody that you can bounce your troubles off of, somebody that understands you. Get a little text group going, read a book together, find your sounding board.
Perfect.
Yep.
Mark, would you like to go next?
I'll reiterate it again. Self-care is not selfish.
Perfect.
And it's
Yeah, and I will end on, no matter how far you've been in your journey and how well you're doing, you still got to take care of yourself. And I'm learning that one again. No matter what place you think you are and how good things are, it doesn't mean that you don't have to keep doing the work. So, all right, well, I will end it there. I think those are all wonderful sounds of advice for people to take with them. So again, we always appreciate all the listeners and everybody that's either watching or listening to this. If you have any ideas for future topics, anything you want us to talk about, to reiterate something you agreed with, disagreed with, whatever it is, let us know. If you want to join us, let us know. You can always reach us at any of our socials. We're at Break the Stigma Inc. on all the social media platforms. Or you can email me directly at breakthestigmainc@gmail.com. Website is www.breakthestigmainc.com. And as always, we appreciate you listening. And remember to push in your chair and put your cup in the dishwasher. Thank you very much.